Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Keith Flemming. Do not adjust your cameras. This is the NFL DFS kickoff show, but we are not here to talk DFS. I am joined, as always, by my good buddy and co-host, Joe the Brain Matz. Joe, how you doing?
I mean, the actual season hasn't started yet. So as a Giants fan, I can have a moderate amount of optimism. It's great.
No, you can't.
You can't. Joe, somebody
Not
asked
if
me
you
the other
don't-
night, I was wearing a jacket.
Don't look at the schedule, and you can have optimism.
Oh, y'all's
Look at the
schedule is so bad for a team that was so bad.
It's over.
It's ridiculous.
I don't know what
It's
I don't know
absurd.
what I don't know what John Mayer or any of the ownership group did to the NFL or the NFLPA, but bro, they got screwed royally, dude. Like, man,
It's cool to get last place in one of the Niners down years. It's always fun. You're like, oh, cool. Our last place schedule got us the Niners. That's great. I love that.
And then I am very excited to have our special guest. Let me just say that Tip is one of the nicest guys in the world. We had messaged and stuff on social media, but it's easy to be friendly on social media. But after getting to hang out with him at the expo, which by the way
Man.
was one of my highlights,
it was awesome.
he's genuine, man, and he's just the best. The great Tipp Major. Tip,
man.
how are you doing, man?
Dude, Keith, I feel the same about you. I've been admiring you for a long time as far as social media goes, because you're always at golf events, you're always at WWE events, like like all the cool wrestlers and stuff like that. I was like, dude, that's what I want to be. I want to be hanging out with those type people. And then all the great work you do at Fantasy Six Pack with Joe Bond and everybody over there, man. Like, I got to hang out with Joe Bond at the airport. He was waiting on his plane that got delayed, and me and Greg Kellogg were sitting there, and here comes Joe running around. He's like, man, I don't know what's going on with my flight. And I was like, well, come sit down here, Joe, and chill. And but yeah, man, an awesome group of guys that you guys have over there. So excited about it. And I can't wait to talk ball, like you said, man.
And by the way, did you know about Joe being the Pac-Man guy? Because
I didn't know about it.
I didn't either.
Yeah, so okay, so at the Fantasy Football Expo, there was a guy running around with a Pac-Man game, like the literal Pac-Man game on his suit jacket, and then I go up to him, I'm like, Joe, it is Joe Bond, guys, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what's this? This is dope. And he's like, oh, I got the whole setup, and then he pulled out the whole setup with Pac-Man. It was crazy, man. I thought it was fun.
Joe, you'll get a kick out of this. So he tells me that he wore an entire Pac-Man suit, like the jacket and the pants.
whole
This was
nine, yeah.
3 or 4 years ago. And he goes, but the problem was all of a sudden I became the Pac-Man guy. And he goes, I don't like that. And I went, well, Joe, wearing a Pac-Man jacket every year at the expo, I don't think that's helping your case as not being the Pac-Man guy. You're giving us mixed signals here, but Joe is the best. He lost his cell phone. I think it was the first or second night. He had me looking all over town because he was drafting for the Kings Classic. And what's great is the women that were working the front desk for the expo realized I worked for Fantasy Six Pack, and they go, "Oh, did you work for Joe? Is he making you, try to find his phone?" I went, whoa. I love Joe Bond, and I am the kind of person I'm happy to help him try to get his phone back, but he doesn't make me do anything because, as everybody knows in this business, we don't get paid enough to be made to do anything. So, but Joe is the best and just one of the best rankers in the world. It makes me sick how he just every year is like top 10. I'm like, that is redonkulous, but that is actually what we're here to discuss. I hate using this word of the my guys because I think it gets a little overplayed on social media. So maybe we'll call this our fantasy crushes, but it's the guys that we are trying to attack and get in drafts this year. It does not have to be a value or anything. It's more of just somebody that any chance you can, you're going to take them, when you're drafting in your draft. So, I mean, literally it could be, for instance, Bijan Robinson. If you have the number one pick, right, you're taking him every single time. So we're going to go position by position. Look at Joe Bond. There you go.
Hey, there he is.
See, sucking up to the boss never fails. But we're going to go position by position. Start with the quarterbacks. You guys cool with that?
Yeah, let's do
Let's do it.
Joe, I know that you have probably the highest ranked quarterback as one of yours because we discussed this briefly. Why don't you go ahead and tell us why we should be taking Jalen Hurts?
Well, I mean, first of all, when I looked at the doc with everyone's picks, I was like, well, son of a bitch. Keith took
that's
both the
usual
guys
in your head, right?
Because, yeah, I think most of the time when I'm in a draft, especially if I'm in a snake draft, I'm usually waiting at quarterback because those first 2 rounds, I just feel like I have to get running backs and receivers. And maybe, obviously, there's years like potentially this one where, you take a tight end. And so I almost always wait at QB. But when I was looking at the ADPs for the QBs, obviously Allen and Lamar often going in the second round. So they're probably just off my boards. And in auction drafts, they're going for like $30. So again, off my boards. And then I'm looking, I'm like, wait, why is Joe Burrow, and God, I love Joe Burrow, but why is he going ahead in a lot of leagues of Jalen Hurts? And obviously, he did outscore Hurts last year. I get it, but I'm kind of like, how much better can Burrow be than he was last year? Leads the league in yards, just short of 5,000, hits the 40 touchdown passes, and he could absolutely do it again. But you also have to keep in mind, he still has to survive that offensive line every year. I mean, I don't know if anyone watched that Monday night game, Commanders-Bengals, where he stayed out there for like 4 drives. He took like 2 sacks in the preseason. He's trying to make stuff happen.
One was his fault, though. When I know what you're talking about, where he ran around and he just held on to the ball. You get the ball out of your hands, too.
Right. Well, that's the other thing is Joe Burrow wants to make the plays. That's why he's so good. It's also why he could potentially get knocked out. And this is like his first healthy preseason of his career, I think, or since his rookie
I think
year.
that may be right.
Yeah.
So that's a reason for optimism, but it's also like that's in the back of your head. And then Jalen Hurts, it's like last year was the worst he could do fantasy wise. I mean, he threw 361 passes in 15 games. So 24 passes a game. That's insane in the modern NFL. I didn't look it up, but it's like Lamar probably threw 24 passes a game his first season as a starter, the back half of his rookie year, when he wasn't really a complete passer. The prior 2 seasons, Hurts was throwing over 30 passes a game. He hit 3,700 yards the previous 2 years. Back in 2022, he did that in 15 games. Last year, he threw for 2,900 yards. And I'm just like, he's got a running back who easily topped the 400 touches mark that scares you every single time. And it's not like,
and as a Giants fan, right? Barkley has had injury concerns.
Yeah.
I know he was very healthy last year, but that's been a rarity.
And he plays behind probably the best offensive line in football for Hurts and also Barkley, but plays behind the best offensive line in football. He probably has the best 2 wide receiver combo in football. Honestly, if they threw the ball remotely commensurate to how often the Bengals and the Vikings throw the football, I don't think there'd be any. A.J. Brown would be right there with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson or above them in every wide receiver ranking to me, whether you're doing fantasy or just ranking who the best receivers are. So he's got all the tools there. Obviously, the fact that he's had his 9th straight different offensive coordinator going back to college is insane. But Hurts is used to that. So, and they have a much more difficult schedule. We talked about how my Giants have a horrible schedule. It's worse because we play the Eagles and they get to play us. But still, it's going to be a vastly more difficult schedule than last year. So I don't think they're going to be able to sit on leads, even if Barkley is healthy to the same degree. So he's going to pass the ball more. And then there's the fact that he's basically a running back 2. And now it might even be selling him short, depending on how many touchdowns he gets. He's top.
What did I tell you the stat, Joe? He's had 50 starts in the NFL. Dude has 50 rushing touchdowns.
He has at least 10 rushing touchdowns all 4 years he's been a starter. He has at least 600 rushing yards all 4 years he's been a starter. So if he gets the minimum there, 60, and then that's 60 points up from the yardage. It's another 60 coming from the touchdowns, and that's the low end. So yeah, to me, he's right there with Daniels for me for that quarterback 3 spot. But you could potentially get him in round 4, or if you're auctions, you could potentially get him for under $20 if you're using the normal $200. So if I am going, because again, I can't get myself to go like spend $30 in a QB or draft guys in the first 2 rounds. But yeah, if I can get Jalen Hurts in round 4, then I don't have to go with the strategy that you will detail later with those quarterbacks that we're going to wait on.
Tip, why don't you go ahead and give us another QB?
Yeah, so Joe talked about him earlier. It's Joe Burrow, guys. And I'm going to tell you why, Joe, because I know that you being a Giants fan, first of all, that had to be really tough for you to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, I don't want to draft him.
It had to be tough, man, because it would be tough for me. Every time I say Patrick, see, I almost threw up right there. I can't do it. So, but I'm going to talk about Joe Burrow. First of all, I'm going to talk about his last 3 years that he's been healthy. 652 passing attempts in 2024, 715 pass attempts in 2022. Woo. 662 pass attempts in 2021. Remember, he was hurt in 2023. Mm-hmm. So 676 pass attempts is his average. This is Joe Burrow, guys. This is quite the best quarterback in the league. Okay, yeah, number 15. Okay, I get it. But this is the guy. And he's got a stud group of wide receivers. Even if they're just as deep as a team like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if they were healthy, and they're just as deep. They're just as deep as the Packers if they were all healthy. Like, this is a deep wide receiver group. So we saw Charlie Jones. Charlie Jones catch a touchdown from this. So I have a feeling that this could be a year that Joe Burrow touches 50. And he's got the running back to do it too. Chase Brown last year, 52 receptions. So you got a guy who can touch 60, 70 possibly, because they're going to be throwing the ball a lot. We already know that. The defense is going to be better eventually under Golden, but it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
It's not going to be week 4 and they figured this thing out. It's going to be week 12, 13, maybe even next year they figured this thing out. Because I think that they do have a little bit of talent, especially at the front end. If they can get Hendrickson signed, come on, man, let's stop playing.
What are we doing, Cincinnati? Quit being so cheap, man.
Yeah,
quit being so cheap.
The dude led the league in sacks. You need that type of player in that division. You need that guy. You need a game record. But anyway, we're not gonna go down that tangent. But with me, Joe Burrow is the guy. I think that, again, I think he can touch 50 this year. And when I say 50, I'm talking touchdowns, guys.
I think Chase and Higgins are the best 2 receiver combo in football, and they've been paid, which I think is important. I know a lot of people obviously have concerns about when that much of your salary is going to a quarterback and 2 wide receivers when you have the issues the Bengals do, but I think that matters because, I think part of maybe Higgins' frustrations at time was, I'm also trying to get paid, right? Like, I get that I'm 1B to Chase, but now that he's also been taken care of, maybe, there's not the need to just feel like he has to force feed one or the other. And I think we all agree that T. Higgins would be the number 1 wide receiver on at least half the teams in the NFL. He's a bad dude. I have a strategy very similar to what, you guys are talking about, that I typically do not take quarterbacks early. Last year was very fortunate to be on Jaden Daniels. It's not that I'm brilliant or anything. It was just that he was the rushing quarterback that I knew was going to run that you could get after, say, the 6th, 7th round. And to me, at this point, if you are not taking quarterbacks that have the ability to run, and that's something Burrow can do that people forget. Baker proved that last year. Like that, they're not like Lamar or Josh Allen. Too. Right, exactly. But they can run. But it's like, let's not make this more difficult than it is. If quarterbacks are getting 3 times the points for rushing, that they are for throwing, and you're getting 6 points for a rushing touchdown compared to 4 for a passing touchdown, I think the rushing element is huge. And there's two guys to me that are real values. The first is Justin Fields, who we're not getting into. Is he a good quarterback? Is he a bad quarterback? It's just the facts. When he starts games, he is somebody that is a top 10 fantasy quarterback every single year. And I think this Jets team is going to be a team that plays defense, runs the ball, and that's very good for Fields. If they end up, say, getting down, that's even better for Fields. Because if you actually look in games that they've been down, those are some of his 40-point games because he's both then chucking the ball to Garrett Wilson, and I think Aaron Smith from Georgia may surprise some people. But also, again, just that rushing ability. I mean, he was the QB, I believe, 10 in 2023, QB 6 the year before that. Even last year, in the first 6 games with Pittsburgh before he was benched, scored double-digit in all those games, scored 20 points or more in half of them. You're getting that with Fields. But he is a little bit higher ADP-wise than this guy, and that's Drake May, who, to me, that's the dude. That is the most likely guy that's going to be Jaden Daniels this year, where you can get him pretty late, like on kind of in that middle to back half among quarterbacks. Yeah. And last year, despite just garbage going on in New England, whether you're talking about the weapons, the run game, the O-line had issues, the coaching was bad, and still the dude put up really impressive numbers for fantasy. I mean, he was somebody who scored 15 points or more in 8 of 11 games. He scored 11 points in a game that I believe he had one drive when he got concussed. And he runs. And then on top of that, I actually think New England now with Josh McDaniels back there, who no matter what you think, very good play caller, very good OC. We all are falling in love with TreVeyon Henderson. So we know that he's got that weapon to go with, can catch passes. And if Stephon Diggs can just be like, I don't know, 75% of the guy that we remember from a year or two ago, I think there's a great chance that Drake May is a top 10 fantasy quarterback with the upside to be a top 5. Like, I really believe that with his rushing ability and the fact that he has got a rocket for an arm. He is somebody that, despite, I believe it was 11 starts, I think he was 8th in money throws last year. I mean, that's the kind of arm strength and just ability to throw that he does. Now, is he going to turn the ball over at times and stuff? Yes. Does he remind you guys a lot of Josh Allen? Because that's who he reminds me a lot of, with a little bit more accuracy early, in his career compared to what Allen had.
Yeah, the accuracy, I agree.
Control.
Yeah, the accuracy, I agree. But Josh Allen was just he's a freak. He's like a lab. like he's not a human person. Kind of like Cam Newton to me.
Yeah.
Like was not a human like that. Like you can't be that big and that strong and that fat. Like, but I do like Drake May. I love what you said about Josh McDaniels, because they got this kid over there too, Efton Chisholm, and I just like saying his name. And he's a slot receiver, and we know the track record with McDaniels and slot receivers in New England. Yep. And so, yeah, I love the call with Drake May. I think that they're going to make throws for him simple, safe, and let his pass catchers do the work for the most part, and then let his legs do the work too. So, it's going to be I think that this offense is going to take off a little bit faster than what people are thinking.
My only concern with May, and I will admit this, very easy schedule. And I talk about this with QBs all the time. The more a team is up, obviously, the more you're going to run. The more a team is down, the more you're going to throw, which is another reason why I do like Fields, slightly more than May. It's just you can get May right now. Like, Fields is now creeping into, in most drafts I've seen, like in that top 10 range. Like, I think everybody's kind of coming to the same conclusions. Is there any other QBs you guys want to discuss before we move on to the running backs?
For me, it's Kyler Murray. We talked a little bit about ADP, the other players. I mean, his ADP sitting at 93 right now. I think that is an absolute steal that you can get. Now, I get it. And you have to have a plan with Kyler Murray, because You can't just go out there and say Kyler Murray's my QB and that's it. Like you have to make sure that you've got contingency plans because I'll tell you what, he's going to disappoint you several weeks in a row. Get hurt. If something's going to happen and you're just going to get fed up with him, so have a plan. But again, with that, you got to look at his schedule. He starts off with the New Orleans Saints in week 1. And then after that, he goes against the Carolina Panthers in week 2. And if anybody knows what Carolina was on pace to do last year, they were on pace to beat that Baltimore Colts team in 1981 as far as giving up points. So I'm going to tell you right now. Look, the Panthers, they actually didn't give. They got it. They gave up a touchdown, I guess, less in order to get it, but they weren't in the record books. But I will say this: in week 17 and week 16, week 17, your fantasy playoffs, Falcons, Bengals. Sorry, Keith, I know you're a Falcons
dude.
fan. I know you're a Falcons, but look,
no disrespect,
Falcons and Bengals.
I think the two teams we can agree are going to be in the most shootouts, right? Like
Exactly.
the Falcons and Bengals.
Exactly.
Like I expect a lot of shootouts from those two teams.
And I know I like the Cardinals defense a little bit. I'm starting to notice some things. Again, it's going to take some time.
I think one of the big things too, and I think this would go for I think every guy we've mentioned, is obviously if you draft one, my strategy is always if I have a quarterback I believe can be a top 5 quarterback, like I feel confident they will be. Mm-hmm. I'm not touching quarterback again if it's a normal league where you can only play one. I just don't. I'm like, if I have Joe Burrow, what's the point of a roster spot for Jared Goff?
Yeah.
But if you do wait, I'm fine with taking 2, but make sure one of those 2 guys is someone who has that top 5 potential, which I think a May does, a Fields does, certainly a Murray does.
Oh yeah.
Don't be like, all right, I took Jared Goff and Trevor Lawrence. Like what's the point? Like you just
we don't want to live in the middle, right, 10th? Joe?
Yeah. Yeah, like if you're a 12-team league, you're like, all right, maybe I got the 8th best quarterback combo if I choose them the right weeks. It's like what's the point? Right. At least one has to be a big swing. If you're like, I got Jared Goff and I got Justin Fields, that makes sense to me. Because on weeks you're like, I don't want to touch Fields against this defense. It's like, all right, you can play Goff this week. But don't aim for the middle ever.
One other thing on QBs, and then we'll move on. Because I think the AFC South has 4 of the most interesting guys for fantasy drafts. Because we got T-Law now with Cohen, and we saw what he did for Baker and that Bucs offense. Mm-hmm. I think C.J. Stroud is going to have a bounce back year. I really do. I like what they've done this offseason. They finally have some other help other than Nico Collins. It wasn't Diggs' fault, but, he got injured. It was a mess. Tank Dell. I like that the 2 receivers. I like that they went out and got Kirk. I know this is going to sound sick, but like Daniel Jones to me is not a bad value either where he's going in draft. We know if any quarterback can get a lot out of this kind of QB is Shane Steichen. Like, remember what, Jalen Hurts and other guys have done. And then Cam Ward, I got to admit, like, I was not high on him coming out. All the
he's
reports
nice.
And stuff is he's that dude. Like,
he's nice.
Like he's good. And all those guys are guys you can get later. If you had to pick one of those you feel most confident in, who would it be?
It's still Stroud for me. I just think he had a down year mainly because just him and Bobby Slowick couldn't get on the same page. And it just, relationships can get strained because of that, especially in those high pressure situations. So I think that we're going to see a different look. Nick Caley's already talked about giving him fluidity in the offense. Like that's what he's done with Brady. I mean, Brady's Brady. He did that with Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford. But let's see, will he do that with C.J. Stroud? So I think that he's going to give him a little longer leash, and it'll be cool. I think C.J. Stroud's the answer there.
Yeah, I think it really just comes to, can Caley and Stroud work better together to minimize the effects of that offensive line? Because the offensive line is still going to be terrible. Like it's best case, that's like the 23rd best offensive line. It's not going to be good.
That's fair.
But I think, obviously they got murdered with injuries to the receiving core last year. I mean, if Nico Collins can just, knock on wood, stay healthy for an entire season, that's a huge difference.
What a beast.
Oh, my God.
And then, they just drafted all the Iowa State wide receivers. They added in Christian Kirk. I'm angry with myself.
They're loading up. They're scared. They're scared that their receiver's going to get hurt, man. They're loaded up.
So, I feel like there should be more options to him than there was last season.
Yeah.
And I'm angry with myself because I have a buddy who works for the Texans, and I didn't think to text him till today, and I haven't heard back from him because I was like, I want to know what's going on. But, I think I would probably say Stroud as well. Although, I think there's intrigue with those other guys. And obviously, Stroud isn't giving you necessarily those big rushing yards. But I think he's the perfect guy to complement. If you do, you can do a Stroud May. You can do a Stroud Fields. Where there's going to be weeks where you're like, all right, this team doesn't have a great pass rush. Stroud, lock him in. He's going to get me my 300 yards. He's going to get me multiple touchdowns. So, I like that as well.
Won't be running it right up the middle on first down every single possession.
Oh, Bobby.
PFF.
And another thing too, that running back room is toast right now. I mean, like they're dealing.
A good point.
They're dealing with a lot of situations. They got Woody Marks over. I mean, don't forget about Damian Pierce.
Thank you, Tip.
Yes, could be coming back.
Yes,
we have to at this point. We gotta start thinking about picking him up at least in the 16th round or something. Just hey, just because. I mean, he's the only guy.
Not to mention, I don't think Pierce was a good fit for the offense that they were running. A lot of outside, I think that he is going to be a better fit for this. And Joe knows this. I was very high on Pierce coming out of college. Yeah. And I do. I think that he is probably the most likely guy if Mixon ends up, just, being missing most of the season to eventually wrangle that job. What a great time to transition to running backs. And I want to start with the guy that I think was one of the more sneakier moves this all season, and that was the Vikings getting Jordan Mason, who I think is going to be a perfect weapon. What do we know about these rookie QBs? One of the easiest ways to alleviate and help them is a great run game. And so you have Aaron Jones, who is more in space, big play, gash guy. And then you can also mix in Jordan Mason, who is a true just give him the ball, run it right at the teeth of a defense. And what I like the most about Mason is McCarthy was so good in college at play action at Michigan. That's what they did, right? They would run, and they would play action. And I think that Jordan Mason, regardless of if Aaron Jones is healthy or not, because I know that's a lot of times a concern, I think he is going to be a significant part of what the Vikings do. They wouldn't have spent all the capital and stuff that they did on him to get that. And we saw last year in San Francisco with him filling in for CMC. He's a beast, man, like a real physical running back, which I don't know if Kevin O'Connell's had that yet in his time in Minnesota. And we know he's the quarterback whisperer. I mean, he's made even Nick Mullins look pretty good. So I think Jordan Mason is somebody, and again, my strategy this year has changed a little bit. I usually am somebody is 0 RB. I would rather, wait to the 5th, 6th round and take chances. I've kind of amended that to where if I can get one of those first 5 guys, the CMCs, the Henry, the Barkley, the Gibbs, Bijan, I'm taking them, and then actually even waiting a little bit longer, and then just kind of throwing stuff at the wall. And Mason is somebody that, right now you can probably get him around the 6th, 7th, maybe even later rounds, depending on what draft you're in. So I really like Jordan Mason. What do you guys kind of feel about that?
Go ahead, Joe.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think Minnesota is going to be, I would assume, despite having quite a talented group of pass catchers, I'm assuming they're going to lean on the run game more this season. Mm-hmm. And with McCarthy coming in, and then obviously if the defense is playing at the level they were last year, you should be able to stick with that game plan consistently. And then, you have an older running back in there. So, even if Jones is continuing to be the main guy, I can't imagine you want him to have some huge amount of the snap share. So yeah,
I mean, history's told you he gets banged up. Like even when he was in Green Bay and thriving,
right?
He can
and you look back
so many carries.
Right. And you look back on those Green Bay teams, and they did always kind of have a more bruising guy, an AJ Dillon in there.
Hopefully he's better than AJ
come
Dillon.
in. Yeah, I mean, obviously we're not hoping for AJ Dillon. That's not the best case scenario.
Yeah,
that
was rough.
But yeah, like that's the opportunity the opportunities that AJ Dillon had. I think those are the opportunities that Jordan Mason will have. And again, and those were Green Bay offenses where Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback, not JJ McCarthy. So that's steering it even more towards the run. And also those were Mike McCarthy offenses for the most part, which is another guy who's steering everything towards the pass. So yeah, I think when you look at the value, and then if you look at like, that's a solid flex play a lot of weeks. Yeah. If Aaron Jones goes down.
Oh yeah. Game on.
Yeah. That the RB1 lock. So
no more Tyson Chandler, no more CJ Ham, no more. Like, it's on. You're right.
You spend $20 on your free agency budget.
Right.
40% of it to get one of those guys because like I need a running back. Yeah. And then it's like, well, he got 8 carries this week.
And they boosted up their interior line too with the 2 guards that they got from Indianapolis. I mean, that right there.
Huge difference.
That tells you they're going to run. That you're right. They're about to try to run the ball.
They saw what happened to Sam Darnold in that playoff game. There, we can't have that.
They realized we need a backup plan. Tim, before you get into your first back, Taylor's got a question. Yeah. What's going on, Taylor? Thanks for watching. He said if you have Kenneth Walker and we're dropping, say, Robinson, who we know just got traded to the Niners, would you pick up Charbonnet or JCM in full PPR?
Charbonnet 100% for me.
I agree.
I am not because you want to have ties to that Seattle offense. You got Clint Kubiak who likes to run the ball. Rick Dennison who likes to run the ball. He comes in there as like a little special coordinator or whatever assistant you want to call it. I mean, this team is going to run the ball. They're not going to have Sam Darnold chunk it 30 times a game. They're going to try to run the ball. Yeah. And I think Zach Charbonnet has value now.
I agree.
I don't think this is not like a handcuff situation. I'm not going to tell you to play Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet.
Right.
But if you are a Zach Charbonnet owner and another person has Kenneth Walker, don't let that deter you from playing Zach Charbonnet. I think you play him because he's going to be in this offense early.
Really good defense, too, I think, in Seattle, right?
Yeah.
Where it would make sense for them to run the ball, right, with that kind of defense.
Yeah, I think he's exactly in that Jordan Mason type where he has value on his own. Because a lot of time, like, I don't generally recommend, like, don't get someone else's handcuff. Because then you're just like, it also feels weird to be like, well, I've got Tyler Algier. It's like, do I want to see Bijan Robinson get injured? That's terrible. I don't want to see that. So, like, I don't want to, like, have any part of me rooting for someone to get hurt. But,
unless they're a New Orleans Saint, in which case I'm okay with it.
Well, we all have our teams where maybe we'd be a little okay with it. But, it's the fact that this is already a player who could have value for you in any given week. But if that main guy goes down, I mean, again, he had a week last year against Arizona where 22 carries for $134. So, and he had 59 yards on 7 receptions in that game too. So Charbonnet, absolutely huge upside if he ends up becoming he potentially could even just win the job. I think they're both good backs. So and especially if you've already got why am I blanking on his name? The starter.
Walker.
Yeah. If you've got Kenneth Walker, I'm 100% saying grab Charbonnet just because. I mean, if you have Kenneth Walker, that means you've solved.
You better be
in that run game. Yeah. So get the guy who slots in almost 1-for-1 for him if he goes down.
Dominic, I promise we'll get to your question in just a second. Tip, why don't you go ahead and give me one of the backs that you were trying to get?
Yeah, I've been banging this drum for about 2 months now. And it's starting to get hot now, and I love it. Braylon Allen of the Jets, guys. Like, I mean, I don't think that we understand, and maybe some of us do if you saw that Green Bay game and that 12-yard run that he did, looking a little bit like King Henry over there. When I saw that run, I was like, oh, boy. I love this kid. I guess last year he's young. He's still very young. He's very raw.
Youngest player ever drafted. Did you know that?
Yeah,
ever in the history of the NFL.
It's crazy. And you have to give him some grace because of that. You're a kid learning a man's, like, this is grown men. You're playing in a men, like, this is it's different for when you're that young. Put yourself in that shoes. But I'm gonna tell you right now, Breece Hall. I love Breece Hall. That was the first person I ever wrote about was Breece Hall and how I loved him coming even back from the ACL injury. And he had a pretty good year that year, but something's not there with him. I think he's lost faith in himself a little bit. The offense, it seems like that they are willing to incorporate Braylon Allen, who they call War Machine. I think,
like that.
Bro, look. When I saw that they call this kid War Machine, I said, "You're not gonna sit him on the bench. Like, why would you sit him on the bench? That's a machine." And then I said, "What's Braylon Allen's nickname? I mean, Breece Hall's nickname." And it was like H3 or something. I was like, "Oh, that's a weak nickname."
Oh no,
I want War Machine, dude. So anyway, but yeah, the offensive line, it's getting a little bit better. You know that they're going to run the ball. Tanner Ekstrom's talked about it. He's talked about physicality. Braylon Allen again. And then I'm going to leave you guys with this right here. Braylon Allen already knows the offense a little bit. He said himself, this is a familiar offense that he played in Wisconsin his freshman year. Go look at what he did his freshman year in Wisconsin. When he said that to me, I said, oh, this is it. I'm ready. I want Braylon Allen on my squad.
I love that. Again, I think the Jets are going to run the damn ball.
Yeah.
So whether Hall is still, say, the starter 1A, I'm with you that both these guys are going to get. And don't forget where their head coach came from, Detroit, where they were more than willing to use both Montgomery and Gibbs. So I love that. Joe, before we get to yours, because I want to answer Dominic's question. I think this is a good question here, actually. So in a, dynasty league, would you guys trade CMC in London? Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Actually, it's not a dynasty. I thought it was a trade question. So it says, would you guys rate a CMC plus London start at 109, 204, 12-man PPR, 2 wide receivers, 2 RBs, and flex? I'll go ahead and tell you that I love it. I think that people are sleeping on CMC. Just look what he did last year. I understand that the health concerns, that's always a concern, but that's a concern with any running back. But even last year, he was still getting 95% of the carries coming off this super serious injury. And I will get into Drake London when we get to these wide receivers here in a few minutes. But, dude, I think he has legit number 1 wide receiver in fantasy upside this year. So, yes, obviously there is some risk with CMC's health, but if you're talking potential and volume, I don't think you can do too much better than at that part in the draft. What do you guys think?
I mean, I was with you. I was with you until today happened. when they got Brian Robinson, I was just like, huh?
I understand. A smoke signal?
I don't know. I don't know at this point, and I'm tired of dealing with Shanahanigans. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of him. I'm tired of Sean Payton. I'm starting to get tired of Sirianni.
That shenanigans.
I am tired of it, dude. I'm tired. My mind I got too much on my mind to be worrying about what Kyle Shanahan's gonna do with this running game. So I'm out. I'm just all in out. I don't want to mess with it. I will tell you though, but CMC before yesterday or before today, I think that was a bang up job with what he did. I'm a little nervous right now if I'm him and I don't have Brian Robinson on my team. Just because I just don't know what's going to happen. Yes, CMC is still CMC, and we know who he is, and we know what he can do on that field. But there's a reason they went out there and got another running back of what we've also seen what they can do on the field in limited fashion. Yes, he's been injured, and yes, the offensive line wasn't that great a couple years ago, but I'm out of it.
Let's not sleep on Robinson here. Dude got shot. Okay.
Right.
So I don't feel like he's got a full run yet. And if anybody can get the most out of Brian Robinson, we know it's Shanahan.
Yep.
Yeah, and the other thing too is, Debo is gone now. Ayuk is hurt.
Yeah.
John Jennings is
They're gonna
banged
run.
up. So yeah, they're going to run, and then also just figure CMC might see even more usage in the passing game than we're used to seeing,
Yep.
and that's already a shit ton for a running back.
Yep.
Right.
So I mean, yeah. Again, you're trying to. Most leagues, unless you're getting first or second, you're not really. Maybe you get like your money back if you get third. We're aiming for the top, and if CMC stays healthy, he's going to be a value. So I'm down with the risk. I mean, obviously, I am at a point, even prior to today's trade, where it's hard to just feel all in on CMC. But yeah, I think if you're at that point in the draft, it's good. I don't know that you're going to have anyone with a higher ceiling. I don't think there is at that point. Yeah. And so maybe take that risk. And then
only LT has averaged more fantasy points per game for their career than CMC. So I mean that's the upside
pretty
part
good.
of it, which is appealing.
And then the injury thing, I don't know. I know he's in his great shape and all this great stuff. I'm just being very cautious with that. Now, I will say this. I will say if CMC is my second running back, like let's say I start off Jonathan Taylor CMC, or something like that. I'm okay because I know that I already got another stud running back or a workhorse or a bell cow running back. So I'm okay. Now I just know that, okay, now I need to go wide receiver, and then maybe go running back again. So that way I can solidify if CMC is hurt. Now I got another running back who can kind of fill in that spot for the second. Hopefully he's like a third running back that can turn into a second, like an upside guy.
Interesting to see too where Robinson ends up with his ADP now, knowing. I mean, if he actually drops as much as I think he does, I love taking CMC early and then making sure you get Robinson as a handcuff a little bit later, because I do agree with you for sure, because I know the Niners have had a ton of injuries with their backs again. It's just like unbelievable. If this means Garendo, they have concerns both with him being banged up and everything, and he's been injured.
But Garendo's had, I think, going back to college, which he was in college for 6 years, he's had one season where he topped 100 carries, and it was like 100.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He's like always banged up. Yeah,
and then I remember. That was a guy. I had terrible running backs in one of my leagues last year. I was legitimately starting Bucky Irving. And
who didn't spend all that fab on Garendo last year?
And I was like, Garendo, got to get him. And then it was fun for like a week. And he's hurt. So that's exactly why they made that.
Oh, wait, you talking about that week where he fell at the 1 yard line? Did he fall at the 1 yard line?
I think so, yeah.
I was like, this little mother, like
then he got hurt.
It did not turn out great for me on that front. So
Joe, give me one of your backs.
So I will go with the back who saved me in the league that I run, where I don't have an excuse for ending up in the running back situation I end up in every year because it's an auction league. But somehow I'm always just like piecing it together with a bunch of guys I drafted for like $5 to $15. And so, I had Rashad White as a keeper because I was like, his volume was crazy last year. I got to keep him. I have him at a good price. And then late in the draft, I was like, well, I better get Bucky because he seems like he's the handcuff. And I didn't realize Sean Tucker was actually quite good when he gets a chance too.
Boy, is he good.
And then Bucky came in, and I mean, he had a 45% snap share last year, and he was the 19th running back overall in scoring. If you go just the last 7 games of the season, where even then it's like he topped 50% 5 of the last 7, but only in the very last game of the year was he over 70%. He averaged if you prorate that 7 games, which is almost half a season, if you prorated that out, he would have had 1,500 rushing yards for 10 touchdowns, 51 receptions for another 500 yards. So 2,000 yards. And obviously, he averaged 5.7 yards per carry. I don't think he's legitimately going to.
I think that was first in the NFL, right? Of the guys with 100 attempts or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's I don't think he's going to be leading the league probably in yards per carry again. But again, this is a very good offensive line. I think there's going to be some regression when the touchdowns from passing to rushing this year. I forget the stat because I heard it on some podcast, but it was their pass percentage, inside the 10 and stuff, was crazy. I think that's going to balance out a little, although obviously, they added Buka. They're still really talented there. But I think some of those 41, I think it's 41 touchdown passes for Baker. I think 5 or 6 of those are going to come down to the running backs. So the fact that, again, he under 50% snap share last year, and obviously Rachaad White's still there, though banged up. Sean Tucker's still there, and he looked good when he had chances. But my assumption is Bucky won this job. He is going to be the lead. I don't think he's going to suddenly be Christian McCaffrey and play 90%. But if he plays 60%, that would be a huge jump from what we saw overall last season. And then I think he can go from running back 19 to running back 10. So he's a guy that I'm targeting. I mean, he's a keeper in that league. So I'm already locked into him in one league, but I will be looking for him pretty hard in that third round or maybe late second in other leagues if I'm in a snake draft.
Bucky gonna Bucky. The other running back I just want to mention real quickly, Will Shipley for the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, we don't want to wish injury.
Wait, no AJ Dillon?
No, definitely no AJ Dillon. I do have real concerns about Barkley with his usage numbers this year. You mentioned it, Joe. The big thing is this Philadelphia team is just that line is unbelievable. And I think Will Shipley is a uber talented guy. And if Barkley goes down, again, we're talking about what we saw from Jordan Mason last year. Same type deal here, where this is somebody you can take with literally your last pick, and you're a Barkley injury away from having a guy that I think would be a top 5 running back at that situation moving forward, even with Jalen Hurts getting all the carries on the 1 yard line. So I do love Will Shipley. I think he's one of those handcuffs that's not being talked about enough. And he's somebody that because again, I like to take stabs and not spend a lot of equity on backs. I think that's a big one right there. Do you guys got any other backs that you want to talk about?
Jonathan Taylor for me.
Oh yeah, JTT.
Yeah. I just think he has a really good bet to lead the league in touches this year. The offense is going to run through him. They're not going to unleash Daniel Jones. I mean, they've got a solid squad of wide receivers, and I like Tyler. I at first I wasn't really big on Tyler Warren, but now with Daniel Jones there, I think I'm gonna have to eat a little crow because I was just basing it off of Anthony Richardson. Yeah, I was thinking 100%. Start, but now I think that helps Tyler Warren out a lot. I think the offense will be a little sneaky, but I think Jonathan Taylor. A lot of people are still getting him in the second round. Later in the second round, I saw him go at the 2.8, 2.9. I was like, wow, that's good value because that guy also had I don't know, CeeDee Lamb or something. So I was like, wow, that's a pretty bad combo right there if you have those two. But yeah, I think Jonathan Taylor. The big thing is health with him. I think he's going to catch a bunch of passes. I think he's going to run a bunch of balls. He's going to get in the end zone. I think 10 plus touchdowns is easy for him. He's done it before. I think he could do it again. He's just got to stay healthy.
And I think Daniel Jones, his rushing ability, what Shane Steichen can do is a big deal. Yeah. We saw that with Barkley, with Jones, that monstrous season. What was it, 2 or 3 years ago, Joe, where they both were, really good. And I think that absolutely could be the case.
DVOA, it was the 10th or 12th best offense. And then you're wait, a Daniel Jones offense was by DVOA, a top half of the league offense. And then the Colts actually have a good offensive line, which the Giants never had. Still don't. We haven't had one in 15 years. So, yeah, I think you raise the bar on literally everyone in that offense by having Daniel Jones in there, which sounds absurd, but it feels true. It's crazy to say, but it's craziest because I'm a Giants fan. I watched it and I'm old washed up Russell Wilson is going to be a clear upgrade in my mind, but I'm still well, that's still an upgrade in Indy. That's how sad it is there. Also, I would, if you're grabbing Taylor, grab DJ Giddens, last round of your draft because I think he's a talented guy who, again, Taylor's been a guy who's been missing games the last few years. So, and then sticking with the rookie running backs, and I am scared because this does involve having to deal with Sean Payton. But RJ Harvey, I really like. I do think it's one in part because of the Sean Payton, part because he's a rookie. You're gonna probably have to be patient. Like you're gonna want at least 2 other running backs you can start for that like first 5-6 weeks because you're gonna want to see how it settles out. But this is a guy who's going to be playing behind an elite offensive line in Denver. The main player ahead of him is J.K. Dobbins. So if I feel bad because I drafted J.K. Dobbins like 4 times in 5 years. No, yeah, the plotting estimate is not something that I'm too worried about. I mean, what something I want to throw out with RJ Harvey, besides again playing behind an elite offensive line. PFF tracks how many rushes you had, 15 plus yards. And generally, if a guy's close to 10, like he busts one every 10 carries. That's really good. Genty was like between that 10 and 11 spot. Hampton between 10 and 11 carries per 15-yard rush. RJ Harvey had 231 carries last year. He had 32 carries that went for over 15 yards.
Ooh.
So once every 7.2 carries, he was busting one for 15 plus yards.
Okay.
So this is an explosive guy playing behind an elite offensive line. Yes, he's 5'9", 208. So don't expect like he's going to suddenly get 23 touches a game. But I think he's also most likely going to be their lead receiving back too, which, listen, I'm not remotely saying he is the next Alvin Kamara. But I will say, who did Alvin Kamara play under Sean Payton? Bo Nix, yes, he will air the ball out, but also he's not a guy who's hammering the middle of the field like 50, that intermediate 10 to 20. He'll throw the deep bombs. He will also check down pretty fast.
Yep.
So RJ Harvey's a guy, again, I think you want to make sure you have 2 other backs that you can play because early in the season, I'm worried that we're going to have those weeks where he's going to, have 6 carries and 2 catches. But I think as the season progresses, and I think this is a team, again, we're talking about elite defenses. Denver Broncos look like they're going to have an elite defense again. So I think he's going to be in plus game scripts. And guy with that explosiveness behind a good offensive line, he's going to be someone I'm targeting a lot once you get past those first few rounds.
Okay.
You may have just sold me, Joe. So I love that because in that way, if it doesn't work, I'll blame you.
Yeah, you can blame me. It's great. Yeah, you can come on the podcast every week and like, you idiot.
Let's get the monster out of the room for the wide receivers, and it's Drake London, who we were just talking about. I could give you a gazillion reasons for why this is, but I'm going to keep it really simple. Last year, 3 games with Michael Penix, 40% target share. That would have led the NFL. 117 yards per game receiving. That would have led the NFL. And then the biggest thing, he saw 60% of the Falcons' red zone targets last year, which is absurd.
Crazy.
And then when we did the Fantasy Six-Pack Falcons preview, me and Joe Bond had on Myles Garrett, who works for Fox 5 Atlanta, and he said unquestionably the number one thing that has been noticeable at camp is Michael Penix has realized if I throw it up to Drake London, it doesn't matter if there's 1, 2, or 3 guys there, he's going to come down with it. And I think London is going to have a monster season. And Darnell Mooney being banged up could actually potentially mean his target rate, targets, etc. Exactly. And we know this about this Sean McVay coaching tree. Very condensed offenses, okay? Very condensed. And that's why I think that both Bijan and London are just smash plays this year. The difference being Bijan is obviously going in that like top 2-3 running backs to where London right now is like the 9th, 10th receiver off the board. This is not homerism, I promise you, because people that know me know I will throw Falcons under the bus.
But what I'm just amazed that he hasn't climbed up the ladder, like as far as ADP goes. he's always stayed right there as far as
I think that people
like-
don't consider him a great
Man,
receiver because they're looking at they're not looking at it, actually. This dude played his first 2 years catching balls from Desmond Ridder and Marcus Mariota. And by the way, he was pretty freaking good with Desmond Ridder and Marcus Mariota. Last year, you give him a wash Kirk Cousins, and he's wide receiver 12. I don't get it. Again, we just went over those Penix numbers. I think London's has a legit chance to be wide receiver number 1. And it would, I think his floor, if Penix stays healthy, I know that's a big if, but if he stays healthy, is like a top 5 wide receiver just on volume alone. And we saw last year, by the way, one of my favorite future bets, 22-1, him lead the NFL in receiving touchdowns. Go make that bet right now because I think that has a great chance of happening. I don't understand that either.
I'm with you. I hope no one from my auction league, because we draft Sunday, I hope no one listens to this podcast before then, because but the keepers I already have, which I'm very thankful for how last year went. I have Neighbors, I've got Bucky, and I've got Bowers. And so I'm like, I've got money saved up now. I'm going to get at least one more elite player, and London's the guy I'm most aiming to get because I'm with you all the way. I think I will not be surprised at all. I might be more surprised if he's not top 5 at the end of the year. The only thing that scares me is the last time you and I went all in on a Falcons wide receiver and said, we think this guy could be the number 1 receiver in football.
Don't do it.
Was Calvin Ridley. And that season did not go the way we wanted it to.
In our defense, we didn't know he was going to be literally watching our DFS show and building lineups in the locker room. So,
yeah, hopefully we don't have to worry about that with London. So,
real quickly, we're getting
I'm
receivers. I'm sorry, I want to always try to get these questions we can. Yeah. Would you trade Hubbard and Kraft for Neighbors? Joe, you're the Giants fan, so don't answer that. Tip, what do you think?
I like Kraft too. It's another situation. We'll talk about Matthew Golden in a minute, but with all these wide receivers going down, I like Kraft. I like Hubbard. I'm kind of like, but man, if you get a chance to get Neighbors, I don't know what his other squad looks like. So hopefully he's got some other wide receivers to tag along with that, or maybe he has another tight end. But I think you do that one, man. I think you do it.
100%. You can find a tight end. And again, I like Kraft too. I'm with you, but you can find a replacement tight end. Neighbors is another guy that just the target share is gonna be outrageous. And I don't care if it's Russell, I don't care if it's Dart, I don't care who it is. They're gonna throw it to him a lot. The injury concern might be the one thing, right, Joe?
That's true. That is true. Which also is compounded by the fact that he's going to see the ball 10 times a game.
Well, that's what I mean.
But but the other big thing too is the downfield passing is going to be. He's going to see at least I would say double the downfield targets he did last year. Like every guy in that QB room wants to throw the ball deep. I mean, Russell.
Oh, Wilson, if it ends up being Jameis, could you imagine?
The best part of Russell's game is that moon ball he can throw, which we saw in the second week of preseason. Jameis, all he wants to do literally is throw it as far as he can and see what happens.
Yep.
And then Jackson Dart was hyper aggressive throughout college, and we've seen that a couple of times in the preseason.
How excited are you, Joe, with what we've seen?
He's excited.
Giants fans are excited, man.
Yeah, he's trying to hold it in.
I mean, I keep reminding myself it's preseason, and then the last time, Daniel Jones looked good his rookie year in preseason, and even his first game he started, we beat the Bucs, and it was like, oh shit, here we go. And then I don't think he was ever going to be great. I also think you'd never want to make Jason Garrett in charge of your quarterback's development. So don't do that.
Clapper?
But yeah, I really hope this team is good enough to get to 6 wins. Because I think if they get to 6 against this schedule, as long as they're not getting blown out in the other 11, I think that'll keep Dayball around. And I assuming they're that successful, I would want him to stick around and continue this development. So yeah, fingers crossed that Neighbors Dart is something I get to watch for another, at least 7 or 8 seasons. But it's it's hard to feel.
I was just curious. What if you go 1-16? Do you immediately take Arch? Like, is that even though you just took Dart, like, can you pass
I mean,
up?
presumably, if we went 1-16 and the entire defensive line didn't get ravaged by injuries, a big part of that is the offense was just fucking atrocious.
That's
so,
true.
yeah, if Dart starts half the season and he looks like Josh Rosen, then yeah, you pull a Cardinals and you take
I hope he
Arch
doesn't
Manning
like
and Kyler
Josh
Murray.
Rosen.
Because
Jesus.
yeah, I know, worst case. But yeah, I mean that's what happened with the Cardinals, right? We're initially when they
that's
got that
true.
number one
Good point.
pick,
Yeah, and they said we're gonna do it again.
Trade this, build around Rosen. They're like, no, we've seen enough of Rosen. We're gonna take Kyler Murray. So yeah, and that was clearly the right call based on what happened with Rosen the next few seasons.
Right.
So yeah, if we're 1-16, sure, give me Arch Manning or whoever else is the top quarterback. But yeah, I feel optimistic now. The scary thing is because of that schedule, I'm like, Russ, you got to make it at least halfway through the year. I don't want Jackson Dart to have to make his first start against like the Broncos or the Eagles in weeks. We play them Eagles, Broncos, Eagles.
Your schedule is 6, 7, so 8. Ridiculous.
And then the Niners are week 9. So I'm like, oh, if we make it that far, at least he'll get to play the Niners instead of the Eagles. So yeah, it's going to be a weird season, but it's a season that has bits of optimism, which outside of
that defense is going to be sick.
Lights out.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch that.
You have got 2 receivers that I honestly think have as much upside as any you can have in this draft. Why don't you tell us about like George Pickens and Matthew Golden? Because I think they both could have monster years.
You got a situation in Dallas with George Pickens that, I mean, him and CeeDee Lamb, they complement each other so well. Yeah. Like so well. If you look at CeeDee Lamb is a do-it-all type receiver. George Pickens is over the top, going to take his speed off you. He's going to catch the ball above you. He high points the ball. He can catch those sideline acrobatic catches looking like a cat out there. Like, it's crazy. Like, the dude is amazing when it comes to those catches. And
people are going to find out he was in like QB purgatory.
Right. He's had some terrible quarterback play. And now he gets to play with his best quarterback. And I think as long as he stays healthy, he's averaged 17.5 yards per catch in one season. I think that's easily something he can do again in this offense. They're going to have to throw the ball. I know Brian Schottenheimer. I wrote about him. I know he likes to run the ball. I know that's his MO.
With what running back? Who are you going to run with?
Exactly, guys. And the funny thing about it is all 3 of these running backs. Now, Maffa, I'll put him off to the side. But all 3 of those running backs can catch the ball too. So if they're going to end up abandoning the run, then they're just going to be like, you know what? We're going to have to chunk it. We're going to have to throw the ball in order to keep up with these teams because their defense is also not great. So, and if they don't, I don't care what they do with Michael Parsons. I really don't care about the situation.
Trade him.
We hear about it all the time. But if he's not there in Dallas, they're in big trouble on the defensive side. So I got to go with George Pickens. I think that he's a great fit for this offense. Matthew Golden, it comes down to opportunity because I know he's a rookie. I get it, but it comes down to opportunity. And right now he has a massive opportunity, a golden opportunity, if you will, at his hand because he's in a situation where there's these wide receivers can't stay healthy to save their lives. Bo Melton is now a DB. So
I didn't know that.
Yes, Bo Melton's a DB now. So you don't have to worry about. They might convert him back over to wide receiver because they got no damn wide receivers. But you got that situation. Matthew Golden is in a premium situation. I joked around and said that I think Matthew Golden can have a. No, it really was a joke. I really meant it, but a lot of people were like kind of going at it. I think Matthew Golden can have a Justin Jefferson type rookie year. 1,400 yards,
like
7 touchdowns. I think Matthew Golden can do that because if he stays healthy and he is the main target, because you got to remember all these other guys are hurt.
Yep. Wicks can't catch the damn ball.
Wicks can't catch. You got Christian Watts. It's a mess. Yep. So I think if this kid stays on the field and Jordan Love and him continue to get this chemistry going, and Jordan Love's talked so much good things about him. I think he can do that, man. I think we're going to see something.
You guys think Love is a potential like breakout guy? Because I keep forgetting he got hurt right off the bat last year.
Yeah.
And I think that affected so much of his season. Like he was basically, fighting an uphill battle.
He plays recklessly.
He does.
He
but
does
I
a
think
little bit.
that's what
There's
also makes
that,
him special if he can just stay healthy, right?
Right. Yeah, I do believe in Love. I don't have him in any single QB league. I do have him in two of my two QB or two QB super flex. God damn.
There you go.
Super flex.
That's why they call it
there
super
we go.
flex
There,
right
yeah,
there.
because that is they need okay. I'm gonna get back on it. But super flex. So yeah, I think Golden is one of those guys, or excuse me, Love is one of those guys that will lock on targets. He's got a good offensive line, decent offensive line, good running back in Tucker Craft. We talked about him. I think he's got the proper weapons to return some value in fantasy football, as long as he stays healthy. That's his big thing too.
Yeah, what you said too, Keith, about him being banged up, I think the most obvious way, I think it showed up in his passing sometimes, just because, again, he's a guy who has that kind of arm talent where he would just throw off his back foot.
Yeah, off some crazy
out. Reckless.
Yeah.
And he, when he was healthy, that was something he could get away with more.
Yeah.
And then last year, he wasn't getting away with that stuff. And then his rushing.
Yeah.
2023, he had 247 yards, 4 touchdowns. Last year, he had 83 yards and a touchdown. So that's 35 points you lost right there in fantasy, just from the rushing. And then, now you're adding potentially, this was a team of number 2 and number 3 wide receivers. Now maybe you have your actual number 1. And then it's also the youngest receiving core in the NFL by far.
Yeah.
So if even half of them get better and you add Golden, I mean, Jordan Love to me is...
They'll allow Jaden Reed to do what he's supposed to do, right? Like, I know a lot of us wanted him to be the number 1 receiver. He's more of a gimmick, like, certain type of plays. And I think Golden is going to unleash Reed as well, because he can
Reed is he's a little bit of a Debo, where, you don't want him to be your number 1, but he's an awesome complement that you can do a lot of stuff with that most wide receivers can't do. So, I'm big on that offense. So, again, Jordan Love is one of the guys I would be most targeting if I'm trying to get Fields or May, because his floor is really high. But actually, I think he has a ceiling that, because Goff doesn't give you any rushing, I think he has a ceiling that a Goff doesn't.
Right.
So he would be a guy I'd be looking at. And then, especially if you're in a 2 QB league, Jordan Love's a guy that I'm getting later.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joe. While you're hot, give me those receivers, because I also really like both of these guys.
I went with because London was kind of the guy I liked most if we're going high end. So guys you can get mid to later rounds. Ricky Pearsall, again, opportunity here,
big opportunity,
because again, Debo is gone, Jennings is banged up, Ayuk we know we're probably not going to see for at least the first month. So Pearsall is going to come in. He has the chance to at least be the number 1 the first month. And if he's the number 1 the first month, I don't think it's impossible he stays the number 1 wide receiver. I mean, this is a guy who believes in himself. If you look at any of his tattoos, he
got shot in the chest last year and still looked pretty damn good.
Again, Brian Robinson and Pearsall are on the same team. This is
that's crazy.
I didn't even think about that.
That's good. That's
good. You hear teams every year. It's like, we overcame a bunch of adversity, and you're like, all right, you lost 2 games in a row at one point this season.
You think they put in the metal detector or so at practice, Joe? Like where everybody's got to walk through it to make sure nobody's bringing any firearms or anything through?
Thankfully they don't have Gilbert Arenas type of guys and Javarius Critton who are going to just pull out guns in the locker room.
No, what they need to do is have Ricky Pearsall and Brian Robinson Jr. come down the tunnel together going to Biggie's "Who Shot You?"
Yes, wearing bulletproof vests.
No,
they don't need them. They don't need them.
That's right. They both survived. So
they're
like Tupac.
Yeah.
But the one time down the stretch where we really, because Pearsall, again, because he got shot, missed the first
in the
6
chest.
weeks
I have to keep reiterating that. In the chest.
And then in the chest, not the place you want to get shot if you get shot.
No.
So then, he comes back week 7. By week 9, he has his 4-catch, 73-yard, scored a touchdown game, gets banged up the next week. Never really finds it till the last 2 weeks. Both times he's playing over 70% of the snaps. 14 catches, 210 yards, 2 touchdowns over those 2 weeks. So again, we have at least seen the flash. Now the opportunity is all his. And then the guy I've become really big on, just like reading all of his stuff on wide receivers the last couple of years, Matt Harmon, who charts a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He had him coming into the draft 2 years ago, 87th percentile in his success rate against man, 69th percentile in his success rate against zone. Last year in his charting, over 70th percentile, now compared to actual NFL players against man and zone. So again, I think he's a good wide receiver playing in an offense with a genius play caller, a good quarterback, and obviously George Kittle's still there. But the actual wide receiver position, there's no one standing in his way right now. And he's a guy you don't have to spend huge draft capital to get him. And then the other guy that I'm going with, and this is probably not a guy I would be going with if
It
Anthony
changed,
Richardson
right? Yeah.
had been named a guy I liked regardless, but yeah. And then also a guy that I just think if he was in an offense with a good quarterback, I think Josh Downs could be like a top 25, legit number 2 wide receiver. And
Give him to Josh McDaniels and throw him in the slot, see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, again, you want to talk about a guy, you look at the metrics and the metrics say this guy is good. It's Josh Downs. If you go just PFF rating, he was a top, I had it just a second. He was 12th overall last year among wide receivers in PFF grade. Receiving and overall. So again,
wow.
Top 12. If you go by Matt Harmon's charting, I gotta find it real quick. There I go. I highlighted his name. Yeah, he was at least 75th percentile against man and zone. So he's above average across the board. And then obviously the one thing you're going, I was like, he's only 5'9". You know who threw 1 million fucking passes to Wan'Dale Robinson last year?
Danny Dimes.
Daniel Jones. 93 receptions Wan'Dale Robinson had last year. Problem was he averaged 7.5 yards per reception. So
PPR, we don't care.
Unless you're doing full PPR, that wasn't doing anything for you. Now, if you were in full PPR, it's like, all right, this worked out fine.
And that's why my ass got Wan'Dale Robinson everywhere.
Yeah, that's what he was the guy where I was like, if I didn't know who to throw in for like 3,500 in my DFS lineup, it's like, well, I'll get 10 or 12 points because he's going to catch 7 passes.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Josh Downs has obviously not lit the world up yards per reception. He's at 11.2 over the last 2 years. But 72 receptions for 800 yards in last year's offense with the quarterback play they had, that's pretty freaking good.
Yep.
And the other thing too is, and the downside is there's a decent amount of talent around him, but also no one's ever going to focus on it. You've got the top 15 overall pick at tight end. You've got Michael Pittman. You've got that Jonathan Taylor.
Pittman's playing with like a broken back though or something,
yeah,
right?
Pittman, he just can't seem to stay healthy.
Yeah, last
I don't
year
think he's bad. He's just, he was ravaged by injuries last year, and it might be doing the same thing again. But yeah, I just think he's the guy who's got. And again, what's the one thing that Daniel Jones has not been super willing to do? Maybe that changes with a good offensive line. But last like 4 years, not throwing the ball downfield, which bad news if you like Alec Pierce for some reason,
or A.D. Mitchell.
For that Adonai Mitchell, breakout. It's going to be a lot of Josh Downs. So for me, he's a late round flyer where if he gets like 90 receptions for 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns, I won't be shocked.
No, I think that's a great call. I do want to mention before we get on to the tight ends, the guy we were talking about earlier that we were both in on, Joe, and whiffed, Calvin Ridley. I mean, you look
Talk about a change in QB play, potentially.
Yeah, right? Like, last 2 years, despite, and again, their O-line's a lot better, too, which their O-line has been really bad the last couple of years. A lot of people are expecting Tennessee to have like a top 10 offensive line, and yet he's still consecutive 1,000-yard seasons, 250 targets, 140 catches. And I think Tennessee, though, their defense was really bad last year. I think they're going to be really bad again this year. When teams are down, throw. So I think Ridley is one of the best values by far in drafts right now. His ADP is rising a little bit, but nowhere near what I think it should be. And then the other guy, and I may be wrong about this, but I believe in Christian Kirk. I expect the Texans to be so much better offensively. I think you're going to see more of CJ Stroud year 1 than you saw in year 2. And we saw last year with Diggs before he got hurt that was working. And to me, Kirk is going to do a lot of the things that Stephon Diggs could do. And I mean, the big thing that Kirk still does is get open. Last year, despite an injury-plagued season, second in route win rate overall, and first in win rate versus man. And to me, when you have a quarterback that has the accuracy that CJ Stroud does, that could be very good. And I think he's the perfect complement for Nico Collins, because he is going to be the under. Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to say also, I think you highlighted the most important thing, getting open quick behind that offensive line.
Yep.
Right.
That's a huge win.
Good. Yep.
And I think Kirk, again, is a guy that way undervalued. Like, I was shocked. I got him in a best ball draft yesterday in the 13th round.
Wow.
And to me,
I think everybody's scared of the injuries concern, but I'm not. I mean, everybody gets injured in football.
Exactly.
And where you're drafting him, that's just not that big a concern.
It's not a big concern.
Yeah, I'm more concerned when it's McCaffrey, and I'm like, I'm kind of staking my whole season on this.
Right.
It's like,
Keith, what wide receiver? What wide receiver was that on your team? Like, was that your 5th, 6th, 7th wide?
So because it was best ball, I think it was the 6th receiver.
Wow. That's beautiful.
And I feel good about it. Like I said, I do think, and I know a lot of people are saying the line is going to suck. I'm not so sure. Like, I think sometimes there's teams that get rid of players at just the right moment. And I think the Tunzel deal, there was some signs by the statistics that he was starting to not be that elite. And sometimes it's just piecing together the right line. And I also believe that CJ Stroud is able to actually buy time. If you watch, he's pretty good in the pocket. And I think having a guy like Christian Kirk to be able to get rid of it quickly, eventually that will open up more down the field stuff. And I do think eventually, like, whether it's Mixon, whether it's Chubb, whether it's Pierce, like, I think the Texans are going to be able to do enough with their run game to play action, which that's where Stroud was just unreal that rookie year. So I think those guys are, again, like, I co-sign every receiver we just talked about. I would be totally happy. And I actually think that this is one of those years that receivers kind of like running back, where, yes, don't get me wrong, I'd like to have a Justin Jefferson. I'd love to have a Jamar Chase. But if you can't get them, I think outside the box. You know what I'm saying? And, like, as we're pivoting right now to tight ends, like, go ahead and take Brock Bowers in the first round. Like, what are we doing, people? Like, I don't understand the concern. This guy was 3rd in receptions last year. And Tipp, you're a Raiders fan. How good was that QB play last year?
It was terrible, Keith. Terrible.
And Geno is a really underrated quarterback. Like, I don't think people understand the upgrade from what they had to Geno with Jacoby Myers, with Brock Bowers, and then most importantly, we've already seen in the preseason, Genty is the real deal. Like, it took me a while to come around on that in college because of the smaller school and everything, but by the end of his college career, I'm like, oh no, this dude is legit. And we know that we've seen this with other teams. Like, the coaching change cannot be understated either. Like we saw it with Dan Quinn last year. And I think you're going to see a similar thing with Pete Carroll in Vegas, where huge upgrade, but most importantly, a coach that understands how to win. And I can promise you that any coach worth anything understands that Brock Bowers guy. He's unstoppable. I told everybody last year, like I was screaming Joe Matz, was I not, from the mountaintops? This dude is a unicorn freak. Being a UGA fan, I watched him as an 18-year-old be the best wide receiver on a UGA team with George Pickens, Brad McConkey, A.D. Mitchell, Arian Smith, James Cook, Darnell Washington, like all these dudes that were first, second round picks. Wow. And Brock Bowers, as an 18-year-old, led the team in receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns. He proved last year he's a freak. And we used to take Travis Kelce in the first round. I don't get it. Brock Bowers is already, I'm telling you, a better receiver because he's a tougher matchup than Travis Kelce was at any point in his career. And if you don't believe me, Aiden O'Connell, Desmond Ridder, and yet third in receptions in the NFL last year. And you think teams weren't like double and triple teaming them? So to me, if you get near that back end of the round and say it's been a big run on receivers where 6 receivers have been taken, I would much rather have Brock Bowers at 112 than I would the 7th, 8th, maybe not Drake London. That'd be kind of like right where it's a coin toss for me. But I mean, overall, like I would rather have Bowers. And I think people are just overthinking. I've heard some people saying, well, I didn't like how many snaps he played in preseason. Guys, really, are we doing this? Are we
that
really
should tell
doing
you something.
This? Exactly. Thank you, Tip. So he is definitely one of the two. My other tight end is Mason Taylor. This is a very easy explanation. I don't know who the Jets' number 2 target's going to be, particularly if Braylon Allen ends up being, say he ends up taking over that backfield and you don't have Breece Hall who catches so many passes. I would just assume that Mason Taylor has just as good a chance as anybody on that roster to be second in targets. And the reason for that, Justin Fields, for his career, 25% of his pass attempts go to tight ends. And they spent real capital on him. And you can get Taylor super late in drafts. And for me, with tight ends, you either take a stud or you just take somebody that's going to get volume. And I think Taylor is going to get volume. And he's obviously talented, or he wouldn't have gone like in the top 50 picks. So, Tip, what do you think about the tight end position?
Yeah, and we talked a lot about Brock Bowers, and I think that if you either you don't want to be aggressive on getting Brock Bowers, or you just don't believe in whatever reason, you just heard from Keith, guys, like he's a unicorn. But if you don't get Brock Bowers, I don't want you guys to panic too hard and start going after Trey McBride or George Kittle maybe. I like George Kittle. I think he's great, but I'm going to wait a little bit. If I can't get Brock Bowers, I'm waiting a little bit. I'm going after just Jake Ferguson. If I get Jake Ferguson on my team, we talked about George Pickens and how he's going to impact this team. Well, you got a guy in CeeDee Lamb who's going to impact this team. And when they get down there to the red zone, that is where Jake Ferguson does his work. And that's where I want my tight end to operate, because I understand I'm not going to, unless I'm Brock Bowers, I'm not going to have a tight end that has a bunch of receptions. You're not going to have a bunch of yards. Well, damn it, I want touchdowns then.
Yep.
So I'm going after Jake Ferguson. I think he's going to have a lot of touchdowns this year. I think he can get 8 touchdowns this year and maybe creep up to that double digit as long as he stays healthy. Look at what him and Dak Prescott did when he was healthy. Both of them were healthy in 2023. All of Jake Ferguson's touchdowns were in the red zone. Every single one of his touchdowns were in the red zone, and I think like 3 of them were inside the 5-yard line. So like this
is a team that we don't know if they're going to be able to run the ball, right?
They're not going to be able to run the ball. So what is Dak Prescott going to be doing? He's going to be looking to his safety blanket, his big hulking tight end in Jake Ferguson. That is who he's going to go for. And I like Jake Ferguson. And if I can give one more, and I'll give my other guy,
of course,
it's Chigoziem Okonkwo.
Yes.
This is one of those guys. I've had people laugh at me. I've had people say why, and I just think that if you're one of those people who want to be really rebellious against going hard at a tight end, you can wait. Chigoziem Okonkwo is like 14th round. He might have creeped up to the 13th, 12th round, possibly. But you can get this guy so late. And look at what he did last year.
He had a monster run at the end, didn't he?
From week 15 to week 17, 9 targets per game is what this kid was getting. And he did things with those targets. And that was with Mayonnaise Bro over there throwing him the ball. Like, now you got a guy in Cam Ward who I think I've looked at this kid in preseason. I'll be honest with you. I did not watch a lot of college film of him. So I was like, okay, let me see what he does. And he has zip on the ball. He has control. He has command. He looks poised. He looks like Chigoziem Okonkwo.
He picked a fight with Jeffrey Simmons. You gotta love that.
Yes, you gotta love it. Like, this dude is a competitor. They talk nothing but great things about him. I like what he says in his press conferences. And I think Chigoziem Okonkwo will be a immediate beneficiary. I like Calvin Ridley. I think Calvin Ridley too. But I think that Chigoziem Okonkwo will him form a bond that will be really, really hard to break early and often this season.
Joe, do you think that there's a chance the Cowboys? I'm with you on the Ferguson. Are the Cowboys the Bengals like? I'm serious. Like, where you can get these players.
It's interesting.
Yeah. I didn't mean to interrupt, but what I wanted to say earlier, because you said Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are the best duo, and I agree. But I think that those dudes in Cowboy land over there, I think they have a little something to say. I think they're gonna have a little something to say about being the best wide receiver duo in the league this year.
Pickens is another guy. Again, it's a UGA fan. I watched him. Yeah. He's the real deal, and I'm with you about him being a perfect complement to CeeDee Lamb. We saw what Amari Cooper did with CeeDee Lamb, and I think that Pickens is an even higher upside version of Amari Cooper with his ability to push the ball down the field and high point it, etc.
He's a true X wide receiver in a way that even Cooper wasn't.
Yep.
Yeah. And that works so great because at no point are he and Lamb getting in the way of each other.
No.
Yeah.
You don't want CeeDee Lamb to go try and do what Pickens does, and you definitely don't want Pickens to
you don't want Pickens
Lamb does. That's definitely not going to work.
Right.
So whatever limitations Lamb has, which are minimal, and Pickens does have some legit ones.
Right.
But they don't matter when he's next to CeeDee Lamb. And then also no one's focusing on Pickens because CeeDee Lamb is there.
Yeah. And think about Ferguson to Tip's point of now having Pickens and Lamb. You would think that just makes it even easier.
Yeah. The afterthought for the defense, where it's if you focus on those guys, say what you will about Dak in the playoffs, the guy has lit it up plenty of times in the regular season, which is what we care about for fantasy.
Right.
So this is why we need David Eddie here. The Isaac Tesla.
I love him.
I have heard a lot of stuff. I almost did give Jamison Williams, who, again, I still stand by. I think he's the best wide receiver from that class.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to finally see this year they're going to truly unleash him. He was somebody who led all of college football in receiving yards and yards after the catch. He just did everything. Yeah. But I know that I've heard from several people that are big Detroit fans that Tesla is turning heads where people are like, holy cow. Now you're going to have a chance to have Gibbs, Tesla. It's all on the field. And then don't forget, you got the sun god catching everything. Detroit's offense could, again, just be nuclear.
Yeah. I love the T-Slaw. I love it.
T-Slaw. Say again, country bumpkin. Apologize.
No.
No.
I like it.
People know that I can't pronounce anybody's name. So.
But I love it. I love the call.
What tight end did you go with? Because I actually didn't look on the sheet.
So I kind of surprised myself with this one because the way I remembered this guy playing last year, I was kind of looking at his ADP. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And then I actually dug in just a little bit. And I was like, wait, I think people have gone too far in the other direction with Mark Andrews. ESPN has their wide receiver tight end analytics where they grade the guys on their open score, their catch score, and their yak score. And to me, the open score is always the one to pay the most attention to.
Yep.
Because catch score, if you have a few bad drops, that's going to throw off your catch score. Yak, just, sometimes you break tackles, sometimes you don't. Open, that's your main job. Going back 2021 through 2024, all tight ends in their database on the open score. The top 4 open scores over the last 4 years are Mark Andrews 2023, Mark Andrews 2021, Mark Andrews 2024, and Mark Andrews 2022. Those are the top 4. And then if you take out those first few weeks,
when I wrote him all for dead and said he was washed,
admittedly,
remember, Joe?
He did jack shit. He had 65 yards on 9 targets over the first month of the season. The last 13 games didn't light it up yardage-wise, but if you prorate it out, it would be 64 catches for 800 yards with 14 touchdowns.
Yeah, that was the big thing. Was he started catching touchdowns like a
He caught touchdowns in 6 straight games to end the season. Obviously, I don't think, I'm not going to, touchdowns are the thing that can vary the most. So don't lock that in. But even if, I don't ever expect him to return to 2021 Mark Andrews, who had 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns. It was like, he is the heir apparent to Kelsey. That's not going to happen. But if you just average out the last 3 years, prorated to the 17-game schedule, it's 70 catches, 800 yards, 9 touchdowns. I think that's fully within his realm. That's not 90th percentile Mark Andrews. That's pretty good Mark Andrews. I don't really see why we would expect that to not happen.
And no likely too. Yeah.
Yeah, and likely is bang. If we got no likely, that frees him up so much more. And then also, let's say the Bengals just do the same thing they did last year, lose in giant shootouts. Let's say the Steelers at least make you work a little bit on offense to beat them this year, which may or may not happen. Obviously, the Browns, they're going to suck. But if they have to work a little bit harder, they have to throw the ball a little bit more. If teams are a little more fuck, we got to stop the Lamar Henry run game, and things open up even a tiny bit for anyone, receivers, tight ends in this offense, then even that just increases the odds that the 70, 900, 9 touchdowns were better happen. So, I often like to wait for tight end, but if I'm I don't really want to spend, those first couple rounds, or I just miss out on Brock Bowers because, I picked 19th or 20th and he's gone already. If I can get Mark Andrews at the 4th, 5th round, and then he comes back and is the Mark Andrews we saw the prior 2 years when he was tight end.
Or to your point, just the second half of last season.
If the touchdown regression doesn't happen for some reason, then nothing else matters. We're fine. So I really like Andrews. And Tucker Kraft, obviously I'm concerned about
Stacey Perez is going to correct you. It's Tucker Kraft and cheese, or Tucker Kraft mac and cheese. That's what she always calls
Kraft mac and cheese. That's perfect for Wisconsin. So absolutely. Tucker Kraft mac and cheese. The mouths to feed thing worries me a little bit, but I don't think it's vastly different from last year. Obviously Golden, like we said, could be the legit number 1 they've been missing, but they've always had a bunch of guys, and he was hyper productive last season. And just a guy who produced, target separation from player profiler, 4th best among tight ends. So he's getting open, 2nd in yards per route run, 2nd in yards per target. He doesn't look like a guy who could bust a huge play.
Well, he's Gronk, though. He's just so physical. He bowls people
so hard
over.
To bring down. He has enough speed, again, to get open. And he had a 67-yard long last year. And it wasn't the only big play he had last year. So, and a guy who 86% snap share last season. Obviously, Musgrave got hurt a bit, but that's not a competition anymore. He is the number 1 tight end in this offense, which again, Jordan Love not playing healthy that whole season, I expect the whole offense to be better. So even if you're accounting for it's better partially because of Matthew Golden, I still think there's room for Kraft to do as well or better than he did last season. And depending on where you're, which site you're drafting on, he's going tight end 10, which to me is crazy.
I'm 100% with you. All right, because I know this will not shock anybody who knows me and Joe. We've gone way too long. We're going to do lightning round for the rookies. Mine is the most disappointing guy in the world because I was on this guy months ago and now he's running 100-yard kick returns and just looks like, freaking Barry Sanders out there. But Trevion Henderson with the Pats is just going to be, I think, a supernova. And mainly because New England doesn't have a lot of weapons. Again, I think Drake May is an uber talented guy. And I think Henderson has the chance to just really help that offense against one of the worst schedules, or easiest schedules. So it's actually a good thing in the NFL. I think Henderson is going to be an absolute freak. The only running back who's a rookie who I expect to be better is Tipp's boy, Ashton Jeanty. Go ahead and let us know why he's about to prove all the doubters wrong.
I mean, I'm not trying to turn this into Raiders hour, but look, anytime you give Pete Carroll the reins to an organization that has been in shambles the last few years, we're breathing in what it feels like to be a successful organization, from top to bottom. But I will say this: when they got Ashton Jeanty, I thought it was the single best thing that they could have done in the draft, because you already got a guy that you got to worry about. We already talked about the unicorn, and now you got another
two of them.
Mythical
is another one too, right?
Mythical unicorn creature-esque, whatever you want to call it. Guys, I'm going to sit here and just put a bold prediction out there because I love you guys and I love this show.
Yes.
I think that this is a reincarnation of LaDainian Tomlinson and Antonio Gates.
Yes.
I do. I think it really is. If you look at their first year, Antonio Gates didn't really have that great of a first year. Brock first year together when they played together. I think Brock Bowers has a great year. I think Ashton Jeanty has a great year. I think they outperform LT and Antonio Gates the first year that they played this year. So I'm in on Ashton Jeanty. They're lining him up in the slot. And that when that tells me something, they want to get him in space with Brock Bowers and just wreak havoc on defenses. So this is going to be a fun offense.
And with Jacoby, I think people are sleeping on Jacoby too.
Right.
He's a really good wide receiver who, again, huge upgrade at QB.
Right.
So how, as a Raiders fan, what would be a happy season from a win-loss total? Because again, as a Falcons fan, I get it. Rome's not built in a day. Trust me, I get it. But are you looking 7-8 wins would be very successful?
I'm happy with it, but I think we can get more. I think we can because look, Coach Pete Carroll stressed about not having a lot of time, and we already know his age factor. We already get that, so he doesn't have a lot of time. I think he can get 7 wins in his sleep. Look at his track record. Look at what he's done in every place that he's coached. I think other than that Patriots season, the first one. But I think that Pete Carroll wants to get double-digit wins. I think he can see it. I don't quite see it just yet, but that's his optimistic Pete, and that's how he is. And I think that 7 wins is realistic, but I wouldn't be shocked if they got 9. I don't think they touched 10 though. I
think that don't forget they played the AFC South, which that means you get T-Law, you get some rookies. I mean, I was looking at the other day, they have a pretty favorable schedule. Yeah. And I believe in Pete Carroll. I believe in Geno Smith. Obviously, I'm a huge Bowers guy, and Jeanty I think is the truth, and we saw this with Dan Quinn last year. That's what I just keep saying to people is when you go from, no offense to the previous coaching regime, but a bad coaching staff to somebody who absolutely knows what they're doing, and they have talent. I think that's a big deal. Joe, I'm not going to call this a homer pick because it took me a while to come around on this. And actually, real quickly before you get in that, because Steven's got a question.
Let's do it.
Potential Thielen trade. We're about to get into Tet. So I think that it's going to be the Tet show and then Hubbard running. And actually, the Carolina pass catcher, I I think look out for is Jatavian Sanders.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's only 21. He showed last year he was a mismatch. He had a really great stretch where he got banged up at the end of the season. Yeah. And I do think that Coker is also the real deal. I just worry for Coker until if Thielen's there. Thielen has just had monster games with Bryce, but I love what they did drafting Tet. I think it is fair to compare him to Drake London, like very similar and big bodies, guys that, like what's the best friend for a young quarterback, right? Somebody that doesn't need to get a lot of separation to catch passes. And that's kind of why you're high on Tet as your rookie, right, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, you can call it a homer pick. I very rarely get to be. Well, I
just meant being an Arizona fan,
No, that's what I mean. I very rarely get to be called a homer when it comes to pro football, outside of like rooting for Nick Foles when he played for the Eagles as a Giants fan. I was like, fuck it, go Nick Foles, win one for us. But yeah, so call me that. I mean, listen, this guy, 2,700 yards, or 2,700 yards last 2 years. He scored at least 8 touchdowns all 3 years of college he played. There was no one on this team last year. There's no one else to distract.
Yep.
The one guy who was supposed to be there, who is also making waves and someone that I think everyone's kind of starting to pay attention to now is Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt was supposed to be our star running back. And then because when he redshirted at Alabama State in 2019, he let someone else use his jersey. And they're like, well, the jersey didn't redshirt, which what the fuck is that? So after running for 100 yards in the first game where we scored 70 points, they're like, he's gone. And then the whole offense just became McMillan. And, it was I can tell you it was a season from hell. The offensive play calling was trash. And the guy still produced. And anything that got said about him, like not having a work ethic, I mean, I wasn't there at practices, but I'm clued in the local media. I live here. I feel like I would have heard something, and I heard jack shit, and there would have been good reason to like check out a little bit. Because I know I checked out as a fan when we were getting crushed by ASU by 70 points at home, which, they were good, but still. And then, he's going to Carolina, which is, all due respect to like Coker, who I think super impressive, especially for an undrafted guy. I think he's going to stick around in the league. Thielen, the fact that he's, still producing as, a little old white guy, congrats to him. But like Thielen's been the leading receiver the last 2 years there. That's what Bryce Young's had to throw to. Even as he actually finally like showed the Bryce Young we all hoped he would be over the second half last year, this was still a bottom 5, and that's probably being generous, receiving core. And now he gets a 6'4" guy who can, high point the ball. Yeah, I think that's going to make a difference for him. And it's not like the game script is going to become, let's run the ball all the time. This is this defense that's still pretty devoid of talent. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be loads of opportunity.
Pretty devoid?
I'm being, nice. I feel for the other franchises that have been decrepit over the last, most of the last decade. But yeah.
Well, why you got to talk about the Raiders for? Come on.
Actually, I was thinking, when was your last winning season, Tip?
Oh
wow.
Ours was 2017. So I mean, this might be losers.
It was that car year, right? The car.
Yeah, it was the car year. We waited to the playoffs. That was 2021.
So see, both of y'all have made the playoffs since
was it further
we have.
I think it was further than that.
Let me see. Last time.
No, I think he's right, because I think that was the year that we went to San Diego, which either was 2020 or 2021. Because I remember the Raiders, I think, opened on like Monday Night Football or something that year.
Yeah, it was 2021. We lost at the AFC wild card.
Yeah,
we were 10-7.
All right, but like Keith, to be fair, we're talking about we each had one like aberration year that gave us hope and then ultimately set us back like 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it was that great.
I mean, fair, but again, it's been since 2017. So, like, I just want a winning record. I don't even care if we make the playoffs. Just get me in the win column.
Get one of us in the win column this year, please.
Well, all three of
We
us.
all
Let's all
deserve
three
it.
go.
Yeah, let's
let's
just
be
shock the
greedy.
world. Dude, could you imagine if you bet?
That'll be a parlay. Three
That's what I
teams.
was gonna say.
Yeah.
Could you imagine
If-
the odds? The Giants, Falcons, and Raiders.
If that
to make the
happens,
playoffs?
we're gonna do like a just us chugging champagne episode.
It's like
that
shit.
would be
You
absurd.
won't ever see me again because that'll be probably like plus 6,000 odds or something. This has been so much fun.
Yeah, it has.
I
knew it was gonna be fun.
I'm sorry that we went so long, Tip, but
It's cool, dude.
whatever
Classic us.
you would like to plug, please do that now because you're the best.
Well, I mean, me and you, Keith, we just found out we're in this fantasy reality league. Guys, check that out. It's on Discord. It's pretty cool.
What's
It's
the
called
channel?
Fantasy. It's called Fantasy Football, a reality show.
Yep,
There
you got it. It's
Yeah, so-
fantasy football or fantasy football, a reality competition.
Right. So me and Keith are in it. We're alongside other great analysts and great content creators that were at the expo. So look out for that, guys. It looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a lot of energy. I can already tell by the group, and we're gonna be giving weekly confessionals on plays that we made or didn't make.
I finally made the real
I love
world,
that.
Joe Matz. It's
I
like
love that. That's
15-year-old
great.
Keith's
Cool.
dream
It's-
come
yes.
true.
It
I'm
is
gonna
so
be in
cool.
there.
And
You
I don't know.
go.
They're doing something right now. I don't know what the hell
They're
they're doing.
freaking doing the auction. That's what I told
Like-
Jen.
like-
I'm like, what are we doing? Somebody
like-
needs to give me the cliff notes.
Right. So I'm gonna jump as soon as I'm jumping off here, jump on there and see what's going on. But football guys, working with them, we got a possible project coming up, but I'll talk more about that when I'm able to. I am working with the sports affiliation as well. We're
Ooh.
doing the Sunday night fantasy nuggets show. It is a 15-minute show full of little fantasy nuggets.
What time
And
is that
it's-
going to be?
It's going to be from 6:30 to this is Central, so let me say it's Eastern. 7:30 to 7:45 Eastern, right before the Sunday night football game.
Love that.
So right before the Sunday night football game, we'll give you some nuggets on that, and then we're going to give you some nuggets on the Monday night game. Hopefully, you win your league that week. But it's going to be a quick 15-minute show based off of that whole week or the whole previous games. And any injuries, we'll have an injury expert come on and help us out, talk a little bit about that. But yeah, quick nuggets, 15-minute show on the sports affiliation.
I think that's an
Sweet.
amazing idea. We were actually talking about that. I'm serious the other day with Joe Bond that I was like, we should do something on Sunday nights because there's like a void.
Yeah, there's that little
There's a
hour.
You know what I
void.
mean? Like where
Yeah. What are
everybody's
you
just
doing?
basically waiting to watch some more football.
Right.
And I think that's just such a great idea. For me and Joe, we'll be back. We're going to be every Friday night. And yes, I can't believe we have signed up and agreed to do this, but we will be doing the Cash Game DFS show, followed immediately by the multi-entry DFS show.
Right.
Maybe this will
Uh,
teach us to like actually compress our thoughts.
Yeah, right. We'll see. But we are going to try to like keep it each in an hour. I mean, again, anybody that
God
knows
willing.
knows
God willing.
no chance, but we're going to try. But Kevin Tompkins will be joining us
Oh,
for
okay.
the
Yes. Yes.
multi-entry show for the second straight year. We had so much fun adding him last year, and we're just really excited. Hopefully, we'll have some big cash days. I would love to be able to do as well in football as I've done in golf this year. I am going to miss the golf season. It's been such a good year, but Scotty Scheffler's the man. But again, Tip is just my dude. Like I
thank you,
cannot
bro.
say enough like complimentary things about you, man. Like you're
Yeah, I
just
appreciate
super freaking smart and you know ball, but more than anything, you're an amazing human being, and
Thank you.
that is what matters to me more than anything.
Thank you. Thank
So,
you. I love to be on this show, man. It's Keith. When I was actually seeking you out at the expo in the little park, Centennial Park area, I was like, I gotta find Keith. And I talked to Mark Shue. I said, hey, have you seen Keith Flemming? He's like, no, I'm looking for him too. And now I know why. He's the guy that does he's doing the fantasy
Yep.
reality thing. And
He's
so I'm
probably
like,
going, can you fill out the information that I sent you 6 weeks ago?
right. So I'm like, I was looking, I was seeking you. I met your beautiful bride, man. It was amazing seeing you. Joe, dude, you were awesome, man. I appreciate you. Love the things that you had to say. Man, you were a sharp dude, man. And
He's Joe the Brain Matz for a reason.
Yeah,
I tell people.
Like I absolutely love this show. Anytime you guys need me to come on, dude, don't even hesitate. Just hit me in my DMs.
Don't be
Call
telling me
text
that.
me, whatever.
Yeah.
No, seriously, guys, this has
Tempt
been
us.
fun. Like
This is
you,
great.
I for me, it's like it's an unwind to the week. You know, our weeks are hectic, man. This is a nice unwind, man, and I'm having a good time with you guys, man. So I appreciate it.
That's what we try to do. Is
Dude,
obviously, we want to give as much stats and info because we're nerds. Like, I mean, that's just what we are anyway. But we also don't want to take it that seriously, right? Like, we want to have fun, and just talk ball, man. Like, that's at the end of the day, that's what we all love. So this has been amazing. Again, if anybody would have done the over under, I'm sure they'd have been like, yeah, this is probably about right. An hour and 50 minutes, but well worth it. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their weekends. Dude, check out the fantasy football reality because me and Tipp are we're gonna form an alliance. There's like Joe every week. If you're in that bottom, there's a voting stage, and I'm like, this is gonna be some straight up Survivor shit where I gotta go ahead and get my alliance made. So
we'll find some immunity dials.
How to win friends and influence others, but every Friday we'll be here. Be sure to check out all the cool stuff on Fantasy Six Packs YouTube channel.
Definitely.
We've had a beat reporter from every single NFL team where 15-20 minutes we cover that team. You can get a lot of little nuggets and stuff. I know Myles Garrett hooked it up for the Falcons. But we'll see you guys soon. Be sure, again, if you have any questions or whatever, don't hesitate to hit us up on Twitter/X or Blue Sky or Facebook or any of them. I'm out there in the streets.
Everywhere.
So, that's right. So, but for Tipp, Joe the Brain, and your boy Keith, we'll see you guys soon.
Peace.